the time's just gone 8:35. Let's bring you up to date with the stories making the front pages of the papers today.
And the Eye covers the escalating train strikes, with thousands to be balloted again under a new tactic to increase the number of major walkouts across the entire network.
The Mail has an exclusive. Union barons have launched a loyalty card scheme for strikers, designed, it claims, to artificially swell picket line numbers.
And the Telegraph says the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst is today urged to tackle an allegedly toxic culture of sexual assault embedded within the institution.
The Express says thousands of vulnerable cancer patients are being stranded in isolation without support during the cost of living crisis.
And The Guardian says hundreds of voluntary organisations have been forced to shut or scale back operations because of government delays in replacing EU funding.
Well, it's time to go through the papers now, and joining us this morning is political editor of Sunday People, Nigel Nelson, and former Conservative advisor Claire Pearsall. And if you don't know, watching or listening at home, they are, in fact, a married couple. And this is the first time seeing, isn't it?
Yes.
The two of you on opposing sides of the table on a Labour review.
Indeed,
and it's been great fun. And we love the fireworks, so lots more of that, please. So, Claire, should we start with you in the Express? Something a bit different. Robots are making strikes and unions redundant.
Yes.
Different take on strikes.
It certainly is, and this could be a little warning for Mick Lynch of, be careful of what you wish. We are now seeing that transportation can be run by robots. The DLR in London does that quite successfully, and in this piece by Tim Newark, he says in Dubai the trains are driverless, they run perfectly fine. So you do suddenly have to look at it and think automation of the transport system could be the way forward. Then you remove, oh look, he's already looking at me. You remove the need for those unions. I mean, the piece is quite interesting because I don't think you can look at it for every single sector. You can potentially look at it for the border, because we've seen that with e-gates. However, you still do need a physical person when the e-gates don't work. But it is something, technology is playing a part in border security, and I think that will continue. The one thing it can't do is take over in the care sector, because I don't think a robot could be an exceptional midwife at all. You need some empathy, you need some humour, you need a little bit of human personality going on. And the same with care workers. This piece does sort of think that perhaps a robot could be trained to speak to elderly in care homes, but I think that is probably a step too far. But I think those industries, such as trains, buses, you could look as automation is the future.
I'm obsessed with the vocations and the sectors that will be replaced by automation. I think we should have a conversation with our children about that to make sure they don't choose them. But Nigel, I can see you bristling there about the idea, because don't forget, such far-right extremist countries such as Sweden and Denmark already have automated trains. So why not in the UK?
Well, we have them here. I mean, that I used to travel to one to work, which was the Docklands Light Railway in London. But although the train was driverless, you still had what they called a train captain on board, effectively a guard. And one of the issues about the RMT strike is they're trying to make driver-only trains, so there's no guard there. So the idea of having that human contact there, people travelling home late at night who might feel in danger, you've got somebody to take over the train if the robot system fails. What it means is that people still play a part. And so, you don't have sort of robots joining unions, you have people joining unions, and they would remain within that system. But it just seems to me right that you have at least a human on board. I'm not in favour of driver-only trains that aren't automated. I think you need that extra person there.
Well, some might say that Mick Lynch looks like a bit of a robot, and he certainly just repeats the same thing and doesn't seem to budge. Anyway, I digress. Nigel, another wave. Oh, God, not another strike, Nigel.
More strikes.
junior doctors this time, is it?
Yeah, this is junior doctors, and this is a survey by British Medical Association, their union, and what it's showing is that 65% of junior docs have actually researched leaving the profession, while 8 in 10 are thinking about it. I think this is partly shows the dire state of the NHS at the moment, and of course we've got junior doctors balloting next month for strike action. So we'd like to see a situation where we're going to have nurses, ambulance drivers, junior doctors, all of them coming out next month. What we've got to do is just take a grip of the NHS, and I think there's nothing wrong with the people who work there. They're absolutely fantastic. What is wrong is the system, and the system has got to be reformed.
I wonder if, Claire, something I get really quite concerned about is that people have years and years been trained how to be a great doctor in the UK, and then suddenly they swan off abroad and go to Australia, and it's not cricket, is it?
It isn't, and they should stay in the NHS. And I do think, in this respect, I think Nigel does have a point that you need to have a great a greater conversation about the NHS and its structure, because yes, we have trained these individuals to be doctors, but there's a lot of time and money been poured into it. These are very astute, trained people that we need to be able to keep. We shouldn't lose them to other countries, but the system itself, I think, lets that down. It's not a case of pouring more money into the NHS at all. I really hate that argument that it's underfunded. It really isn't. It is badly structured. So I think that needs to...
How do we save money then, so these people don't have to clear off abroad? How do we save money in the NHS?
Oh, I think you could make some quite easy reforms by removing diversity officers. Let's all be honest. When you see positions like that for 60, 70, 80,000 pounds being advertised within the NHS, a diversity officer doesn't save lives.
Nigel, would you rather have a junior doctor, or maybe 2 or 3, or a diversity officer?
Well, if I was ill, I'd rather a junior doctor. But diversity officers and managers are important. You're talking about the 5th largest employer in the world. It needs to be managed.
Right, Claire, this is quite a shocking story this morning. Perhaps not surprise if you are a parent. I was speaking to a mother this morning who said this didn't surprise her at all, this story in the Eye. It's about sugary baby food. Really full of sugar, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think this was really surprising, is just how much sugar are in these baby and toddler food packages. And in 2019, the government issued a review of this, which stated that there are inconsistencies between national recommendations and the ingredients in these food products, but there is absolutely no guidance on the amount of salt and sugar in baby and toddler foods. And if you think this is your introduction to the world of solid food, and if you're being put on something that is quite sugary, sweet or salty, that is going to set your taste buds up for life, and levels of obesity and tooth decay later in life are going to be enormous. The repercussions of it are absolutely huge. But it was the baby pouches aimed at children under 12 months, which contained more sugar by volume than Coca-Cola.
Now, I've got
it's
to say,
really shocking.
Confession to make, my 2 glorious children are watching. Hello, Sonny and Dolly, if you're at home. So Sonny is 13, Dolly is 8. Sonny, I did spend a lot of time making baby food for you. Dolly, I didn't do that for you. Because guess what? It takes forever.
It does.
And these pouches,
they're great.
I kind of get where parents are coming from, because they're quick, they're convenient, okay, they're expensive, but who's got the time to be making risotto for kids, Claire?
Well, this is it. And I admire all of those parents that spend their weeks and weekends pureeing food and putting it into ice cube containers and putting it in the freezer, when, to be fair, there was a pouch that was there ready to go. I could put in my bag, and my son, hello, James, if you're watching, you did have these pouches and love them. It is. But you're right. I wish I had more time to have done that, but unfortunately, life got in the way.
We've got another story here from the Eye, Nigel, one of yours, again about food for kids. This is expanding the free school meals programme.
Yeah, which seems like a good idea. This is coming from Tony Blair, also backed up from the other side by the former Chancellor George Osborne. And the argument is that if you give children nutritious, free school meals, you will actually solve an obesity crisis down the road. That will save the NHS money and so on. It seems like a good idea here. That I think that kids now have gone to packed lunches, which are not the most healthy things to have. And if you have a decent free school meal service, it's not hugely expensive. We discovered that during the pandemic when Boris Johnson tried to stop them being served in the holidays. It was 120 million, and that's not a lot of money. So the idea of actually expanding it, making the school food better so kids actually want it, that could save an awful lot of trouble down the road.
I wonder if in 2023, Claire, the media could make it a New Year's resolution to stop asking Tony Blair what he thinks.
I would really enjoy that if it were to come true. I think the one problem I have here is that I don't have an issue with free school meals, and I think that they are a benefit to the majority of children. What I have a problem with is tackling obesity and suggesting that free school meals are going to solve it. Anybody that has seen a school meal knows that they aren't actually nutritionally great.
They could be better.
They could be, but unfortunately, because kitchens are not there and these are quite often bought in, the food isn't there, and when children go to get whatever it is that they wanted to eat at lunchtime, it's gone, and they have to have a sort of cobbled together selection or even a sandwich made by the kitchen staff so they don't go hungry.
I used to love school meals. I used to absolutely love them.
Did you?
But back in my day, it was all sticky toffee pudding.
Precisely.
Yeah, it was great.
School cake with the pink custard over
Really
it.
unhealthy.
Didn't help with obesity, though.
Well, look, come on, two fine figures here.
Jamie Oliver came in and had away with all of that when I was at school. So we didn't have very fun school meals.
Jamie stole your childhood.
He stole
Your turkey twizzlers.
Here's one that you want to cover, Ellie, about wine.
Yeah, let's talk about wine, Claire, shall we?
Oh, let's. This is I thought this was quite funny. That 2 in 5 wine drinkers bluff their way through a wine list to pretend that they have more knowledge. 41% of wine drinkers admit that they are clueless when it comes to wine. And I think we've all met that person that you've been out with who will...
I think I bluff quite a lot as well, to be honest.
I think everybody does, but the person that tastes the wine who just goes, oh yes, that's marvellous. And I think they would say that irrelevant of what it was in their glass, and people go for, quite interestingly, the pretty labels on the wine. I mean, I tend to look at the one that's in my budget.
Guilty.
And whatever's on spec if I'm out, because it's a cost thing. And expensive wines don't always taste best.
No,
and I think
true.
there is a little bit of you should have what you like, not to impress somebody else. If you like it, you enjoy the taste, you go for it. You don't have to have something very expensive just to impress people that you're with.
Because the mind can boggle, can't it, when you're reading a wine list at a restaurant and you're just like, what do I do now? And for some people, it will be, the one that they can pronounce.
Just go for the house wine.
Yeah,
it's easy.
on the house. Make it easy. But I think this might be one of my New Year's resolutions. And we were laughing in the break where my master was like, what to drink next? I was like, no, to know my wines more. So a bit more wine knowledge.
I've got a fail-safe solution. In a restaurant, go for the second cheapest.
Yeah.
And in a supermarket, go for the one that's on offer with the most money off.
Yes.
Seems to work.
And a money-saving tip as well.
Yeah, it seems to work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good.
No, I don't disagree.
Connoisseur speaks.
Nigel, we haven't got very long, but let's just have a brief glance, shall we, at this story in the Telegraph about police failing to solve thefts.
Yeah, these are some new figures that have come out, and this is more than 1 million thefts that they've not found suspects for over the last year. And some of the criticism has come down to the fact that police spend their time monitoring Twitter and things like that. And one of the things that Rishi Sunak had said during his leadership campaign was they must put a stop to that. But to be fair to the police, they only investigate the complaints that come before them. And if someone complains about a tweet, they must investigate it. The answer is Rishi Sunak should change the law.
Yeah, complete waste of time. They should be policing the streets and not policing tweets. And I think on that bombshell, we should probably call time. Thank you, Nigel and Claire, for being very civil.
Yes.
For a married couple. Next time, let's have a bit more fur fluff.
Wait an hour later.
See you in an hour's time. Thank you.